Good day to everybody out there in the interweb web space. Maybe you're watching on TV. I guess technically you could be if you were a smart TV person. I'm not, so I'm just using a laptop. This is Vic Pinero. I'm reaching out to you all from California. Luckily, we have gotten through a very white summer. I say that white because we've had a lot of fog here, which is not typical. We usually try and get fog as well as beautiful weather. That's what we order up from the powers that be. But hopefully you folks are enjoying better weather wherever you're at. We've started to, it looks like we've got several attendees on the line. Dr. Chaco is our speaker today. He's waiting in the wings. But before we get to that, wanted to mention there's a testimonial form that you can pull out of the handout section, as well as, obviously you'll be following along via audio or via the app on your smartphones. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and just work those into the questions tab on your interface there, and then we should be good to go. Can everybody hear me? Go ahead and raise your hand if you guys can hear me. I see some hands. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, Jonna. Cynthia, Shirley. Oh, wow. Okay, everybody can hear me. That's good. That wasn't the situation 15 minutes ago. The magic of technology. All right. Everybody's hearing me. All right. Dr. Pacheco, are you waiting in the wings?
Yes, Vic. Good morning. I'm here. Great to be here with you.
Fantastic. Well, today we're going to be speaking with Dr. Pacheco. It's going to be an operative dialogue. It's going to be kind of a quick presentation day because we really simplified this menu for the IN.FORM program. It's simple. It's straightforward. It's easy to explain. It's easy to execute, and it's successful. But I'm not going to steal Dr. Pacheco's thunder in respect to success that he's seen with it personally, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen with it. But again, Dr. Pacheco comes to us from down in Los Angeles. He's an Emmy Award-winning medical doctor. He's on our medical scientific advisory board as well as a board-certified family medicine doctor. So he's active. He's not just researching. He's seeing the success himself. And as a clinical associate professor, I give you none other than Dr. Pacheco to take us on this quick journey of our IN.FORM menu. So Dr. Pacheco, take it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Vic, for that very nice introduction. Good morning to everybody. It's always great to be here with our NSP family. Excited about today's talk. Today it's going to be short and sweet, so fasten your seatbelts, hang on for the ride, but I think we've got some great tips and some secrets how to really make the IN.FORM program, and in particular the IN.FORM meal program and the supplement program, a success for yourself and also for your clients and your family members. Vic, will I be able to just click onto the next screen, or is that something you're controlling?
I will magically forward the slide for you. How does that sound?
Okay, that sounds fine. So let's go back. Let's go back a slide if you're controlling them. So as we know, let's get right down to the heart of the matter here. Really, we're facing, not only in the U.S., but on a global basis, three major issues, major health problems. And we know that obesity is one of them, heart issues and heart disease, and then the diabetes and the prediabetes problem are all tying in together. And obviously, there are many complications that go along with these three health risks that we have outlined here on this screen. And what we're really learning and becoming much more aware of in the past 2 or 3 years, I would say, it's pretty recently, is the underlying cause being the cardiometabolic syndrome, which is also known as the metabolic syndrome. Vic, we can go back. What I'll do, Vic, is I'll let you know when we can go to the next slide. That might make it easier. So we know that we have
Fantastic.
the cardiometabolic syndrome. And for those of you who have seen some of my talks recently, remember, it's quite straightforward to find out if you or any family members or any of your clients actually have the metabolic syndrome. There are 5 criteria that we use here mainly in the U.S., pretty much similar standards around the world. And if you have 3 of the 5 criteria, well, then you may have metabolic syndrome. And why is this important? Well, the reason it's important that it's estimated right now in the U.S., 1 out of 3 adults has the metabolic syndrome. I'm going to repeat that. 1 out of 3, and over 50, it may be as much as 1 out of 2. That's 50% of us may have the metabolic syndrome, which can then lead to a lot of problems. Next slide, please. So what we're ending up with now is a worldwide epidemic then of bad nutrition and poor lifestyle choices. Let's go to the next slide, Vic. So with the bad nutrition, with the poor lifestyle choices, we're seeing an increase in metabolic syndrome, as I mentioned. We're seeing a huge increase in inflammation throughout the body, and particularly what interests me is the inflammation in our vascular system, inflammation in our blood vessels, but also inflammation that then becomes affected in our organs. This leads to different types of diseases. One of the outcomes of widespread inflammation can be obesity and overweight problems. Next click, Vic. We're seeing much more prediabetes and diabetes. We're also seeing more cardiovascular problems, more heart disease, more heart attacks, and ultimately all of this leads to poor quality of life. And why? Because so many folks really, in this fast-paced life that we have, not eating as healthy as we could, unhealthy diets, a lot of fast food, all of the things that we're aware of. And so when we really look at all of these causative factors, besides our diet, which we know is really, unfortunately, very processed, a lot of artificial colors, artificial flavors, too much fat, too much sugar, especially the sugar, we also know that stress is a major factor. And we know that the environmental toxins and the environmental pollutants are a major factor. So what's happening with this whole combination of toxins coming at us, including the poor diet? Well, it's affecting our microbiome. And we know that our microbiome is the bacteria that we have in the digestive system, the microbiome. And as you know, we have many, many live bacteria that live inside of us. In our digestive tract, and some of you may actually know the number. When I first researched this a few years ago, I mean, it is a huge number. I mean, it's many more numbers than we have cells in our body. When we look at the number of bacteria that are with us 24/7, it's over 100 trillion. So not 100 million or 100 billion, 100 trillion bacteria that are living inside of us, and some of them are good bacteria, some of them are bad bacteria. Now what happens, as many of you know, when we have too many of these bad bacteria, it can affect our whole body. So for example, let's start down at the bottom. Let's go back, Vic. When we see neurological, you know, we might ask, well, how does having a poor microbiome affect me from a neurological standpoint? Well, many of you know that a lot of the neurotransmitters that our brain uses, for example, like serotonin or dopamine. Let's look at serotonin, which helps us avoid depression and helps us with mood balance and anxiety. It's possible that up to 90% of serotonin is produced where? Not in the brain, but produced in our gut. So it's amazing. A lot of people that you know, have been on the IN.FORM program and have certainly, even before the first 90 days, even before they go on the maintenance program afterwards, but even before the finish of the first 90 days, they're saying, you know what, I'm starting to feel better. You know, my mood is better. I just feel, I don't feel so down, I don't feel so stressed out. Well, it makes sense. If we're producing more serotonin, which is that kind of feel-good neurotransmitter, well then that makes sense because 80 to 90% is produced in the gut. We also know that the respiratory system very much dependent on our gut health. The glandular system for sure, and that ties in with the hormonal system. Weight, absolutely. More gut inflammation can lead to more problems of insulin resistance, which then can lead to more problems of being overweight. So again, the gut health, very important there. Your skin, absolutely affected. It's really great. You know, if you look at people that have been on the IN.FORM program for a little while, you can actually see the difference in their skin. Their skin actually looks healthier. And then the immune system, as we go here to about the 1 o'clock position, immunity, again, it's estimated that about 80% of our immune system is controlled, manufactured in the gut. Unhealthy immune system, we're more predisposed to different types of illnesses, diseases, feeling run down, feeling fatigued. Blood sugar, absolutely also affected by poor gut health. Very strong correlation with inflammation, with insulin resistance, which then of course can lead to prediabetes and diabetes. Actually, a question that I get frequently is, well, Dr. P, my patients and my friends call me Dr. P. Dr. P, how do we diagnose prediabetes? Because as we know, the number one symptom of prediabetes is no symptoms. That's one of the problems with prediabetes. Prediabetes, we have no symptoms. So how do we diagnose prediabetes? You might want to write this one down. If you have the hemoglobin A1C test done, A1C blood test, very simple blood test, and now it can even be done with a finger stick, you want it to be below 5.7%. So less than 5.7%. 5.7% greater than that, we're looking at pre-diabetes. So the magic number there is 5.7%. And then, as I mentioned, the hormonal system and also the cardiovascular system, dramatic increase in heart disease, in angina, in heart attacks, and also in sudden death. And one final thing, with the neurological, we're also seeing an increase in problems with memory like Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's actually now even being called diabetes type 3 in some circles because of its close association with inflammation and high blood sugar. So what did your NSP team come up with? Your NSP team came up with the phenomenal IN.FORM system. Thank you, Vic. The IN.FORM system, which is not just, okay, we'll take a shake and take a couple of products. No, this was very, very carefully evaluated and analyzed over a very long period of time, led by Dr. Matt Tripp, our Chief Science Officer, who really is, he's a genius when it comes to analyzing what can work, what can help us, what doesn't work as well, the synergistic effect of different types of nutrients and different types of herbs and minerals and vitamins. He really is a genius. I tell people we're blessed to have Dr. Tripp because he's really helping thousands and thousands and hopefully millions of people lead healthier and more productive lives. So the IN.FORM system, remember, it is designed to be used together. I've heard that some folks like to, well, break it down a little bit here. Well, take one of these, or, take this separately, or just do the cardio kit. The IN.FORM system, the IN.FORM program, and we're talking about the first 90-day program that we're looking at here on the screen, it is designed to be used together. You have your choice of the shakes, as you know, the soy, the protein, the pea, and also the whey protein. And remember, these are a little bit different than our other NSP shakes that we have. For example, the pea protein in IN.FORM is not exactly the same as the Love and Peace. The IN.FORM shakes also include 2 grams of phytosterols. So those phytosterols really important to help us with our lipid metabolism. And we know that cholesterol is a rampant problem, especially here in the U.S., especially that the LDL cholesterol, what we call the bad cholesterol, being too high, and then triglycerides also being high, the fat in the blood. So remember, these shakes are a little bit different. The Metabolic Age Support Cardio Kit is a phenomenal, simple-to-use kit that comes in individual packets. You just take one of those packets a day, and then, as you know, the kit also comes with the berberine formula, which is there for blood sugar and glucose metabolism support, extremely important, extremely effective, and then the IN.FORM probiotic, and that is key. And this probiotic is very, very important to help us maintain that gut health. And I've had some, sometimes people will ask when I'm giving a presentation, well, Dr. P, why don't I just take this, cheap probiotic that I can get at the big box store and is really cheap? Well, for one thing, it's very important to look at the label and make sure that the potency of the probiotic that you're taking is guaranteed full potency through the expiration date. There are a number of products out there. They may have had a certain number of X number of billions of CFUs, colony-forming units, when you buy them, but by the time you're halfway through, how much is really in there? Remember, these are live organisms in the probiotic product, so it's very important to take a very high-quality probiotic. Now, one of my secrets, one of my tips for getting newcomers started on the IN.FORM program. Remember, it is a different diet for many people. It is a different way of living, a different way of eating, and a different way of consuming different supplements. So some folks may have an adjustment period. One of the things we've heard about as well, I felt some stomach discomfort, or my stools got loose, or other folks might say, oh, I'm feeling like I might be getting a little bit constipated. Not uncommon. especially for people who are not used to taking and consuming enough protein on a regular basis, especially high quality, healthy protein. It is possible when you start just taking protein that you notice a change in your stool. So if someone really has had an unhealthy diet, I recommend, instead of starting off with 2 shakes right away, I recommend 1 shake a day for the first week. And then I also recommend the same thing with the berberine. Start off with 1 capsule daily for the first week. Let your body adjust to it. And then with the probiotic, also 1 capsule a day for the first week. This way you're giving the body time to adjust to a healthier, higher protein, higher probiotic diet, so that the person will have less potential discomfort, and they're not side effects, but really discomfort. So start off with 1 capsule of the berberine daily first week, 1 capsule of the probiotic daily first week. The cardio kit, that's usually fine, and that I recommend with dinner. Take your little package of cardio kit, and that's phenomenal. Remember, it's got the Cardiac LDL bergamot formula in there to really help support healthy cholesterol metabolism. And then with the shakes, as I mentioned, 1 shake per day to start. And I find that people really, they gradually build up on the number of capsules they're taking and then the number of shakes, and really tremendous success when we've been following these guidelines, especially for those people who've been on really, really unhealthy diets. So let's take a look at the meal plan. Let's go to the next slide, Vic. So when we look at the meal plan, what I love about the meal plan is it is simple. It is easy to follow. You just go through the daily meal plan. We see our protein, 3 servings a day, and it even tells you that's palm size. So, for example, piece of chicken, palm size. Remember, the hand is very handy to use. Well, no pun intended, sorry about that. The hand is very handy to use when we're trying to evaluate what's a cup, what's half a cup. So we know if you make a fist, that whole fist, that's a full serving. That'd be like a cup, for example, of vegetables, a whole fist. If you just make a little palm-size hand, you look at your hand kind of curled up on the inside there, that'd be about half a cup. And then, for example, if you look at your fingertip of your index finger, go ahead, feel and look at your index finger fingertip, that'd be about a teaspoon. So sometimes, well, what's a teaspoon of butter? Well, it's about that much. And then if we look at our thumb, the thumb is more like a tablespoon. Okay, so typically more like a tablespoon. So if you're looking at, well, oils and fats, let's say something like, it's like peanut butter. Let's say, okay, that's a thumb. That's about a tablespoon. So you can use the hand very, very nicely to help gauge the different portion sizes. Snack protein, we need 2 of those a day. Vegetables, it sounds like a lot, but when we go over the meal plan in a little bit more detail, you're going to see it's very easy to incorporate this. Remember, some folks, they eat almost no vegetables. They start eating vegetables and leafy greens. Of course, they're going to feel it. They might be a little bit gassier. That's normal. Their bodies are used to processed, unhealthy type foods. So again, maybe they don't go to 6 vegetable servings per day the first week. Maybe they're doing 3 or 4. We gradually build it up, let their bodies and their GI tract adjust to really having a healthier diet. Fresh greens, we see there 5 ounces. Fruit, 1 serving per day. The legumes, which would be like the soybeans, edamame, dried beans, lentils, 1 serving per day, half a cup. Dairy is optional. Oils and fats. We know that there are very healthy oils and fats. And then water, remember, a great tip for everybody out there, water. People always say, well, how much water should I drink? Is it 8 ounces, 6 glasses? How many? Very easy. Remember, half your body weight in ounces. So half your body weight in ounces. So up to 100 ounces. Somebody weighs 150 pounds. Well, it's easy, 75 ounces. It's easy to do the math. Basically, what I do is I like to have a water. I do a lot of speaking, with medical students and residents, and also obviously with patients. So I just like to have water handy. I don't like to feel like I'm thirsty. And you want to go up to about 100 ounces. So let's go to the next slide. And one of the key components, as we know here with the IN.FORM program, is the protein. And this is something that is so, so key, because I know many of my patients, they really don't consume enough protein. It's very carb-heavy type of diets, a lot of processed foods, as I mentioned, and then really way too much sugar. Another secret is, for people that want to get healthier, quickly cut back on the sugar you're consuming. And remember, it's not just added sugar. Added sugar is easy to keep track of. Okay, I'm not going to put 10 teaspoons of sugar into a cup of coffee or into a tea. Unfortunately, when we buy a soda, that's what we're doing, 10, 15, 16, even 20 teaspoons in one soda. But remember, that sugar is hidden everywhere, especially in the form of high fructose corn syrup. A lot of people don't understand, don't realize that, for example, ketchup is 1/3 sugar. Remember, ketchup, 1/3 sugar, and really usually the number 1 or number 2 ingredient listed on ketchup, high fructose corn syrup, potentially very inflammatory to our bodies, very toxic to our liver. Obviously, once we affect the liver, affect liver metabolism, all kinds of metabolic issues are going to start occurring in the body, particularly leading toward metabolic syndrome, prediabetes, diabetes. So you want a secret tip? Cut back on your sugar. You're going to start feeling better right away. Number 2, increase the protein. Protein is a major functional and structural component of all the cells in the body. And remember, when we have more protein, it provides satiety. We have a feeling of fullness, plus it provides energy for a longer period of time. For years, when I started my day at the hospital, you know, we just didn't know better 25, 30 years ago. You know, we had bread in the morning, and you know, maybe some kind of fruit juice, which was just full of sugar. And about 2 hours later, and especially being very busy as an intern and resident, I was starving. You know, by 10 a.m. I'm starving, and I'm just out of energy. With protein, now I have my shake in the morning. I've been doing this for years now. I get a much nicer, sustained energy release throughout the morning. I like to have my mid-morning snack. So by 10:30, I'm having my healthy snack. In my case, it's usually nuts, because I can take them with me very easy. I can have them anywhere, in the hospital, while on the road, while in Utah also, at our corporate offices. So remember, the protein, besides being a building block for the cells in our body and our whole body, provides satiety and also aids in thermogenesis, which is increased burning of calories. So it's really important that we have enough protein in our bodies and that it's high quality protein. So let's go to the next slide, Vic. So when we look at protein-rich diets, now this is something that's been studied extensively, and it's been looked at in helping to manage and prevent type 2 diabetes, also pre-diabetes, also been studied extensively in osteoporosis, as well as, there you go, Vic, we can click, muscle loss, which is very important, and heart disease. And remember, that muscle loss, that's one that we really need to be aware of. And I'm really big on trying to help prevent and just let it be so extreme, the sarcopenia, which is the atrophying of our muscle mass. Unfortunately, one of the things that happens as we get older, as we get younger, I like to say, our muscle mass decreases, we're not as strong. Why is that an issue? Because that helps us prevent things like falls. And something as simple as a fall, especially in women that have a bit of osteoporosis and their bones are a bit demineralized and decalcified. A simple fall, what happens? You've seen it a million times, I'm sure, and you've heard about it, leads to something as straightforward as a hip fracture. Remember, hip fractures in some people, in some patients, can be fatal. Why? Because after the hip fracture, okay, the surgery is done, some of the complications can be infection, bleeding, and also pulmonary embolism, or different types of emboli. So with a pulmonary embolism, that can be fatal because it goes to the lungs, we can't breathe. You can also have a stroke from one of the clots. So unfortunately, we've had patients that had complications after something as straightforward as a hip fracture, ended up in the intensive care unit on a ventilator. So just by maintaining our muscle strength, so important. Let's stay active, gang. Let's get out there, let's walk. If you do a little bit of weightlifting, remember, it doesn't have to be 500 pounds or 300 pounds. Even 5, 10 pounds, build your way up. For those of you that like to do weightlifting on a regular basis, phenomenal. Stay nice and strong. It helps us with balance. It's going to help us from a functional standpoint, and you're just going to feel and look better. And then protein-rich diets, also very important when we're looking at the ravages of heart disease. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Vic. So one of the things we need to do then when we're talking about this microbiome is we need to decrease the amount of bad bacteria in our gut. And we now know that in general, an obese person's microbiome favors bad bacteria while a leaner person's favors good bacteria. And there have been some very interesting twin studies done where there was an overweight or obese twin and then a normal weight twin, and just taking the bacteria from the obese twin and then putting it into identical mice, 2 identical mice, guess what happens to the mice that are given the bacteria from the obese person? You've got it. The mice become obese because of the effect of those bad bacteria on that mouse. Remember, inflammation is our enemy. Bad bacteria, poor gut microbiome is our enemy. So a high-fat, high-sugar diet can lead to higher proportions of bad bacteria. So the question then becomes, so how do we raise good bacteria and lower bad bacteria? Go ahead, Vic, we can click. And the secret is, it's not such a secret. Let's eat healthier. Let's eat smarter. And we need to make sure we have enough protein, especially high fiber protein. And then one of the other items that we really emphasize in the IN.FORM meal plan are our veggies. And remember, veggies aren't just a filler. Let's go to the next slide, Vic. So vegetables, remember, they're not just filler. All right, vegetables are extremely important because they are loaded with phytonutrients. And there's been a lot of research in this, and this is something where Dr. Tripp and his team are really experts in. Remember, those phytonutrients are messengers. Phytonutrients have all kinds of messages for ourselves. Go ahead, you can click, Vic. So phytonutrients are messenger molecules that have an enormous beneficial effect on our whole body at a cellular micronutrient level. So vegetables aren't just filler, remember, gang, and we want a variety of vegetables. You know, we always recommend, you see the photo here? It's colorful. Pick vegetables of different colors, mix them up. I mean, this just looks great, and it's also going to help us. So why do we need to limit carbohydrates? Yeah, it's okay, Vic, we can go on to the next one. People say, well, you know, what's wrong with carbs? Well, we know there are healthy carbs, you know, and there are all kinds of different carbs. But let's talk about some of the bad carbs, like, you know, this thing we're looking at here. You know, if we look at this little candy bar, I wonder how much of that candy bar is not artificial. You know, I bet you it has artificial coloring, artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners. I would be shocked if it doesn't have high fructose corn syrup. So something that looks as innocuous as a candy bar, that's just causing inflammation throughout our whole bodies. I mean, it really ends up becoming poison. Does that mean I'm never going to have a piece of chocolate? No. I like to have a little piece of chocolate sometimes after dinner, but I don't have a whole bar of chocolate. I just have a little piece of chocolate, dark chocolate, very satisfying, one little square, very yummy. So carbs, we know they're not as phytonutrient dense as vegetables. Carbs, as you know, bad carbs, very, very bad for our blood sugar, cause all kinds of blood sugar up and downs and swings, which is why after eating a lot of carbs, you see people, sure, initially they feel great, you get all that sugar going, and then a couple hours later, boom, you crash, you feel lousy. Now what? Now you're hungrier again, and you can also even feel depressed. You know, so definitely not good. And the triple whammy is that the sugars feed the bad bacteria. Sugars feed the bad bacteria, which then is going to contribute to that poor microbiome. So as I mentioned before, remember, super tip number 1, decrease the sugar in your life. Number 2, make sure you're getting plenty of protein. And number 3, the tips that I gave you how to introduce the products to somebody who really has not been on a healthy diet. And the biggest secret is get on the IN.FORM program. Let's go to the next slide, Vic. And the reason I feel so confident in recommending the IN.FORM program, and that you should also, is that it's a clinically studied program with clinically studied products. So it's not me saying, hey, this is a great program, or it's not somebody saying, oh, you should take this, it's really good. That's important, and testimonials are really important because they're real testimonials with real results. But what makes me even more confident is that we have a clinically studied program with clinically studied results that, you know, I've got to be honest with you, in some cases, the results that we've had in terms of cholesterol and triglycerides and weight loss, certainly even better weight loss, better than a lot of the prescription medications that are out on the market that unfortunately can cause a lot of side effects. So this is phenomenal news. Remember, IN.FORM program, phenomenal program, easy to follow. The meal plan, use your guide that you're provided with. in the IN.FORM kit. Start gradually, introduce the products gradually. If it's someone who really is not used to eating healthier, it's okay, especially that first week, to start gradually. And you know what? So many people and thousands of people are having such great results that I am sure you and your clients can also have great results. And then our end point, of course, is to live healthier, happier, and more fulfilling lives. So thank you very much. I'm Dr. Luis Pacheco, Dr. P. I hope you have a wonderful day. Today was nice and short and sweet. Let's go get them, NSP family. Let's keep helping more and more people. Thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All right. So Dr. P, thanks for joining us today. Like you said, cut to the chase. Keep it simple. This IN.FORM menu plan, it's much simpler than some of the other things that are out there available. It's easier to explain and it's easier to implement. So we had a whole bunch of questions that came in. Dr. Pacheco, could I ask you to help us with some of these questions? I don't know if Dr. Pacheco's still on there.
Yeah, let's, let me see if I can pull them up here, Vic.
If you want, I could read the question off.
Is it possible for me to see them also, Vic, and then maybe I'll pick out a few of them?
Sure. Let me. It might be.
If you have a good one in the meantime,
kind of,
why don't you give me a good one in the meantime, and then you can see if you can have them pop up on my screen also.
All right. Awesome. Let's do that. Okay. So there's a question from Lori. Can juicing of vegetables be incorporated into the IN.FORM program?
Oh, I'm sorry. Juicing? The question was juicing?
Juicing of vegetables. I guess she's speaking to, that's a lot of vegetables. Some people have difficulty eating that many vegetables.
Yeah, well, right. The juicing should be fine as long as we're staying within our guidelines. Okay, and for those people who like a lot of liquids, because remember, once we're on the full program, it is 2 shakes per day. But some people do like the juicing. The key with the juicing is let's be careful not to add too many sweeteners to them. I've seen some folks, they like to do the juicing, but then all of a sudden they end up, for example, with too much fruit, which is going to bring too much sugar. So I would just be aware of the quantity of sugar that you're adding to your juices. And juicing the vegetables, let's try to stick with our recommended vegetables that we have on page 14 of our manual on the meal plan. Stick with the recommended vegetables within the daily servings that are recommended.
Okay, great. So just to continue, I'm having some difficulty showing you these questions, so I'll pick out the juicy ones, pun intended. Do you see any problems with a pregnant lady drinking the pea or the whey shakes? So that would be the green or the blue, if I'm not mistaken.
Great question.
A problem?
A pregnant woman who wants to take the shakes, in particular the pea or the whey? Is that the question, Vic?
That's
I have
correct.
not seen, I'm not aware of any difficulties in terms of taking the products. Obviously, every person is an individual, and depending on that woman's pregnancy and whether or not she has any complications. In general, with pregnancy, I recommend let your healthcare provider know, whether it's your physician or your nurse midwife, let them know what you're taking. Let them know what you're taking, okay, especially during pregnancy. But as we know, when we look at, the products, I'm looking at some of the products here. For example, the omega-3s we know extremely important in pregnant women, not only for the mother, but also for the developing brain of the fetus. But as always, if you're not sure, check with your healthcare provider also during pregnancy.
Okay. Okay, a couple other questions here. How much beans, tofu, etc. would you need to have to replace the meat? This is from Deborah.
Oh, that's a great question. Because, okay, so when we're looking at when we're looking at meat, let's see, let's take a look at this together, because are we talking no fish then, no fish, no meat, so it'd be somebody who's strictly vegan?
Exactly. Avoiding the meat. Use the tofu, using beans instead of using meat. That's a complicated one for the vegetarians and the vegans out there, I would imagine.
Yeah, really it comes down to what I would say there is, look up in terms of tofu, how many grams of protein your portion of tofu is giving you, and then figuring out, if let's say you like tofu, I would look this up and try to get an equivalent amount of tofu and let's say beans to give an equivalent amount of the protein. In general, we know that general recommendations for protein are 0.8 milligrams per day per person based on body weight. So it's easy to calculate how much protein we need. So look up those non-meat foods that you enjoy, get the number of grams of protein, and then let's equate that to the protein in the meat. I mean, that's how I would do it. I don't have that answer off the top of my head. I'd have to calculate it after looking up exactly how much protein, for example, is in tofu. But that's easy to do, but that's a great question. And you know what, Vic? We should make a note of that so that we have some general recommendations for people who don't eat meat or fish, okay? And even for strict vegans with no dairy.
Okay, I'll mention that to Shan today after our conversation. Great point. There's a question from Veronica. Are they coming out with samples of the protein soon or in single servings? I don't know. That's a great idea, Veronica. That's also something that I can mention to Shandy and our team that manage the IN.FORM program in Utah. There was also a question, can we have a copy of this deck? I'm actually dragging and dropping a file. Today's the August 30th PDF of today's presentation. It's now available in the handout section. In fact, there was a question about handouts. There should be a little tab on your interface, and I'll make sure that that's clear. Can everybody see that little handout tab? It might be hiding somewhere on your desktop. Anyhow, that's where you would find it. Has everybody found that? Raise your hands if you're having difficulty.
Hey Vic, it might be in the lower right-hand corner. That's where I'm seeing it on my screen. So there's a little icon there, handouts. It says 2, and then we have why the IN.FORM meal plan works, and then there's a testimonial form. So on mine, it's showing up kind of toward the right lower side. Maybe that's where it is on everyone else's screens.
Okay. In fact, thank you, Dr. Pacheco. If you're watching this from a smartphone, there's a little icon on if you've got an Android, I'm not sure about the iPhone, but on the Android at the top right-hand corner, there's this little, it looks like a little piece of paper with a little, like a little dog ear at the bottom. And if you click on that or touch it, then you'll see 2 red PDFs come up. And that would be where you pull down those handouts. Typically, we're trying to get those downloaded before our presentation. So I apologize for the delay on that. Questions. Thank you for all your comments. People are sharing kudos to you, Dr. P. Thank you. Thank you for the great information. We're getting lots of little hearts. All these hearts flowing here.
Oh, that's nice.
Like Valentine's Day.
I feel the love. I feel the love. It's great. It's great to be with the NSP family.
So another quick question. I purchased grass-fed organic hot dogs. Are they still a no-no? How about ham and chicken sausage? All right. People trying to squeeze in some different options. Is that going to be available? Is that okay as part of this program?
So grass-fed hot dogs, and then what was the other one?
The hot dogs, they run around in the pasture eating grass.
Right, and then what was the other food?
Ham and chicken sausage.
Ham and chicken sausage. Again, here we need to check the nutrition facts on the label, because one of the things, when you're looking at the hot dogs, okay, it's grass-fed, but do they have other additives in them? Do they have artificial flavors or colors in them, or is it really something that's very healthy? If it looks like it's a healthy product and it's a healthy protein, and I would check the label again, see how much protein is in it, see how much sodium is in it, because we know hot dogs are usually full of salt, then I would say, okay, obviously not every day, that's not going to be my breakfast every morning, but maybe as a treat. And then also the same for the other one. Let's check the nutrition facts on the label. Make sure you're not getting a bunch of artificial ingredients and artificial junk, really, because that's what it is.
Okay, great. There's also a question regarding sweeteners like stevia and xylitol. Are those permitted on the IN.FORM meal plan?
Well, that's a great question. You know, xylitol, as we know, seems to be a healthier option. And if I recall correctly, I think, Vic, correct me if I'm wrong, I think NSP has a xylitol chewing gum.
It's delicious. Yes, they do. We also
have so xylitol, yes, definitely. And then, as we know, stevia also another one of those healthier options. Also, stevia, of course, you know, very small quantities because it can be pretty strong in its flavoring. But in general, you know, the less sweet we make stuff, I think the better, because our brains get used to not having all of those sweet type of flavors. It doesn't mean we're just going to have everything bland and have it taste like a brick. But less sweet in general, I think, is a little better for our brains. You know, some of you have seen my talk regarding sugar. You know, studies have been done looking at sugar compared to cocaine, and in some studies it's been shown that sugar can be up to 8 times more addictive than cocaine. Lights up in similar places in the brain when we do functional imaging, and it's amazing. Sugar can be very, very addictive. But those two options that were mentioned there, excellent from our attendee.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's a deadly combination. Question real quickly regarding caffeine. All these fun topics, sugar, caffeine. Can you speak about the effects of caffeine on the appetite? There are so many people that are struggling with or strung out with caffeine, they don't even realize it.
Yeah, I mean, caffeine, we know in general, remember, coffee is not a bad thing, okay? Coffee has a lot of benefits, but like a lot of things, it's the quantity. So if I'm drinking, you know, 6, 8 cups of coffee a day, which a lot of people do and they don't realize it, they might say, you know, I'm only having 2 to 3 cups. Yeah, but look at the size of the cup. It's one of those latte, venti, grandes, whatever they call them now. You know, some of these things are enormous. They're really like 3 coffees in 1 coffee. So when we look at our recommended foods, for example, on page 15, for those of you who have the IN.FORM guide, the IN.FORM manual, look at page 15. Remember, it's recommended 1 cup of caffeinated or decaffeinated coffee per day. Water and herbal teas, sure, you know, probably a healthier option. With the coffee and the caffeine, it is a very interesting discussion because, you know, I also need to point out that there have been studies that showed people who were higher coffee consumers, let's say 4 cups a day, some of them did have improvement in their blood sugar metabolism. That doesn't mean that everyone can have 4, 5, or 6 cups of coffee a day. It can make you extremely jittery. And then I've also had patients that suffer from withdrawal from caffeine. So I think it's our old adage, you know, that our grandmas have told me, moderation is usually our best friend when it comes to stimulants. But eliminating coffee entirely, I would say no, we don't need to do that. Personally, I like to put, here's one of my little tips and secrets. I like to put my coffee into my morning shake, and it gives it a nice flavor, and it gives me that delicious coffee aroma as well as a little bit of caffeine. But remember, I'm putting in 1 coffee, not this 3 or, you know, quadruple size monster that you can get at some of the coffee stores.
Exactly, with all the extra sugar and all the extra stuff that we don't want in there. It's gonna.
Yes, excellent point, Vic. The sugar is really, really intense in some of those giant mochas and some of those flavored coffees. You have to really, really be careful, especially start adding whipped cream and caramel syrup. Obviously, not healthy at all. It's going to lead to inflammation. Good point, Vic.
It's remarkable, though. Once people start to eat less of the sugar that they're used to, they readjust their tolerance, and they almost, I would imagine, like if you're drinking a lemonade from the store that has lots of sugar, you might actually want to water that down or add more lemons to it so it tastes more authentic and less sugary. I mean, have you
Absolutely.
seen that at all in your patients?
Yes, absolutely, and I've seen it with myself. You know, for years, being, you know, eating a diet of cafeteria food in different hospitals and facilities, unfortunately, now there are some somewhat healthier options. In the past, though, you know, it was really not very healthy. And anything, you're thinking you're drinking something, oh, it's lemonade, it's got lemons. It is just loaded with sugar, probably 15 teaspoons. So now, speaking for myself, and I've also had patients, similar situations, say, you know, Dr. P, it's just too sweet for me. So even with fruit juices, for example, with kids, and this isn't strictly informed, but with kids, you know, sometimes we think we're doing something good by having them drink fruit juice. Remember, check the label. It's probably full of sugar. And usually I recommend, if I'm looking at a glass, no more than 1/4 of it juice and the rest water with some ice, just to give it a little bit of flavoring. And over time, just like Vic was saying, you try to drink a regular lemonade, I can't do it. It's just way too sweet. I mean, it just makes my whole face, you know, kind of just pucker up and start squinting because it's just way too intense. So that's a good thing, because over time you get used to not having so much sugar. That's a good thing.
I'm going to call out this one quote. I think it's so apropos and timely. Is it Jen Papalia? I think it is. She says, nice saying, what's bitter in your mouth is sweet in your stomach. So if you can use that as an adage, we can maintain a little better choice in terms of our sugar intake. A few more questions here, and then we're going to be probably close to our hour here. Let's see here. There's just so many. Some of them we've covered already. What about the shakes? Which ones are best for a bodybuilder? Which one would you recommend for a bodybuilder, somebody who wants to put on a bunch of lean muscle?
Oh, that's a great question. Really, you know, with terms of the shakes, the 3 shakes in the IN.FORM program all have the same amount of protein. So what we're looking for really, number one, is protein when we're looking at increasing muscle mass, decreasing sarcopenia, but in this case a bodybuilder. And they all contain how many grams of protein out there, gang? Who knows? 20 grams. So remember, the whey, the pea, and the soy all have 20 grams of protein. So really, I would say it comes down to your personal preference. Some folks, they prefer a vegetable-oriented protein like the pea protein. Other people love soy. And then we have some folks that like whey. In terms of getting the protein in, I would think that all 3 of them would be great for helping to build up muscle. And remember, if you're doing intensive lifting and intensive type exercise, well, you're probably going to require a little bit more protein than someone who's more sedentary. So really it would come down to the amount of protein. But when you look at the composition of the IN.FORM shakes, besides the 20 grams of protein, which is a very nice you know, amount, you look at all the other ingredients that are part of it, including 2 grams of the phytosterols, very, very beneficial, as well as a number of other ingredients and vitamins and minerals. You know, take a look at the package insert or the nutrition facts on it. Really phenomenal for people that do heavy exercise and are lifting weights. We have a number of people that are bodybuilders that also take the IN.FORM shake. So I would say take your pick, whichever one you like the most. And what I like to do, Vic, is I like to kind of alternate them sometimes because I get a little bit different flavor and it changes things up. So I kind of alternate them, let's say, from one month to the next.
Excellent, excellent. Along those lines, there was a question regarding the grams of protein needed per day. So again, I guess based on that formula that we gave earlier, what should people be thinking of in terms of the amount of protein they'll be taking in per day? Not the bodybuilder, but the typical IN.FORM participant. And that gets
right,
based
so with
on
grams
per
of
pound.
protein a day, it's basically, you can write this down, 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight. So it's 0.8 grams of kilo per body weight. So we know that 1 kilo is approximately 2.2 pounds. So, you know, general guidelines in males, about 55 grams for a sedentary person. You know, but this is obviously, it depends on your weight also, and it depends on your activity per day. You know, if you're an intense athlete, you're a triathlete, or you're lifting weights, well, then you're going to up your intake But the general guidelines, 0.8 grams of protein per kilo of body weight per day. Okay, so that should help clarify that one. Remember, with high doses of protein, let's make sure that we have good kidney function also. Make sure that your clients have good kidney function because we know that it needs to be processed through the kidneys as well as other parts of the body. But let's make sure someone does not have active kidney disease.
Great comment. All right. Let's see here. All right. Some of the questions are regarding the future, and I can't totally look into my crystal ball and tell you, will you be offering multiple types of protein-based shakes in one IN.FORM package in the future? For example, a mix of whey, soy, and pea protein in one IN.FORM box. Who knows what the future holds? But that's another great idea, and it's been duly noted. Tammy was questioning the comment around kidney disease. What happens if someone has kidney disease, or how would you know if they have kidney disease so you could take action or prepare yourself to support that person around the IN.FORM program?
Yeah, usually it's a very good question. And usually with kidney disease, the way, besides physical symptoms and findings, physical findings that we look for, we do a blood test. And we're looking, if you want to write these down, you want to look at your BUN, so it's capital BUN, which stands for blood urea nitrogen. So you want to look at the BUN in particular, and also your creatinine, not creatine, but creatinine. And then from there we get the creatinine clearance, which is also usually shows up when you do a basic metabolic profile blood test. But to really know how your kidneys are doing, blood test is what gives us the most information. BUN, creatinine, and then creatinine clearance. Creatinine clearance varying depending on age.
Okay, great.
And remember, a good way to keep those kidneys healthy, make sure we're drinking plenty of water. So one of the problems with the sodas and also excess caffeine, as you know, is they're diuretics. They make us pee more and we get more dehydrated. So let's make sure we're drinking plenty of water, especially now in the summer. It's hot. Let's make sure we're drinking plenty of water so that our kidney function also is nice and healthy.
That's a really important point. It is summer, and I'm the first culprit. I just don't drink enough water. But people do know I have my little pink phone has that water. In fact, it went off I think a few times during our presentation here. It's a little water reminder, and you can download it. I can't remember the name of the app, but I think some of you guys have used it in the past. But it reminds you to drink water. So even if it reminds me 3 times, if I could drink once out of those 3 times, that's a great thing, I figure.
Speaking of water, yeah, the reminders are great. And also have your little Nature Sunshine shaker bottle, put some water in it during the day and just have it nearby. Another great secret about water is when people are trying to lose weight, you drink 2 glasses of water before you eat, you feel fuller. 2 glasses of water before you eat, and you feel fuller. And guess what? You eat less.
Ooh, good call. Great idea. Okay, last question from Veronica.
Let's take one more question.
Last question, here we go, from Veronica. Speaking of water, is it better to drink room temperature water, hot water, or cold water? What's the truth?
Oh, great question. Controversial question, because we've looked at this for years, especially with athletes. I've been board certified in sports medicine also, so I like, athletic performance issues. And okay, we've looked at room temperature, we've looked at ice water, we've looked at warm water. I mean, really, I think the main thing is to have water. If I had to pick one, it would probably be closer to room temperature. Okay. But the name of the game is drink water. But that's a great question, and you probably get about 6 different answers depending on who you ask. The main thing is let's make sure we drink enough water. But great question.
Okay. The jury's still out. You kind of played the political. You stayed on the fence on that one, didn't you? I just know cold water feels so refreshing after a lot of exercise, but I don't know. Sometimes I get a headache if I drink too much cold water. Same with ice cream, I think your body has a certain temperature. That makes sense to find that temperature that your body's at and match the water. But anyhow, Dr. Pacheco, that's all the time we've got for you today. I'm going to let you go and go do your magic down in, are you in Los Angeles today?
Yes, I am.
All right, hopefully there's some patients waiting in the wings for you to take advantage of your expertise as we have this morning. I appreciate your time. We're going to really quickly run through a few house cleaning things like, well, let's find out who won a recipe contest this week. By the way, before you forget, it's not too late to jump in and join our recipe contest and be a participant. You can win awesome prizes by sharing your recipes with us. All you need to do is submit your inform-friendly, again, these have to be inform-friendly, even if they're delicious, unless they're inform-friendly, we can't accept them. Submit these to social@natr.com. That's social, S-O-C-I-A-L, @natr.com. The first 5 who submit a recipe will receive some really cool NSP swag. That means free stuff. So you can't go wrong with that. So I wonder if we have a winner for this week. I wonder. What do you think? Let's see. Well, this week's winner is Kim Cassidy. Congratulations, Kim. And bon appetit. You get to choose from an Inform System Kit, our Essential Oil Diffuser, an Authentic Essential Oil Kit, or the Flower Essence Formula Pack. So way to go, another recipe prize winner. By the way, we'll announce one next week as well. So be the first 5 to submit, and you'll get a better chance. You'll definitely get the swag if you're one of the first 5. And a bottle of essential oils. So we're toning up a little bit more. Okay? And by the way, we were talking about the hot August nights and all the water we want to be drinking. This is also a great time to start your group. So are you getting out and promoting? Well, we're going to help you. So if you start a group with 5+ people, you'll receive, and receive 150 product credit. You'll also earn additional product credit based on your group sales. So let's say your goal is to reach 600 QV in Inform product sales. Your additional $150 product credit prize, you'd be receiving that, and that would be a total product credit of $300. Now, if you're really competitive, you like that 1,000 QV focus, you can reach 1,000 QV in Inform product sales. You'll get an additional $300 product credit, which brings your total up to $450 in product credit. So it's not too late. Don't forget though, August, if you're still having difficulty with everybody getting back to school, we've only got 1 day left here, but 2 days. You still have September to start, so it's not too late to start in September. I bet we have a pretty cool promo that'll be coming up in September, but just something you don't want to miss out on. If it's just a few days left here, get that group of 5 people together and walk away with so many promotional goods that you can share with them or share with your peeps or use yourself to feel better and feel healthier with Nature's Sunshine. It's really easy to do this. You just go to the Inform webpage. You all should know the informnsp.com site, but you go to the coach sign-in page, upload your group, and it's done. That easy. By the way, the Inform Challenge also is beginning. It's beginning right now, so there's no registration period, so sign up anytime. It's 13 weeks of healthy transformation. You'll receive prizes. They're awarded quarterly, and the Inform coaches win too, obviously. So you have to have an NSP account, but if you are an Inform competitor, if you want to get out there and challenge yourself or have your participants challenge themselves, go to www.naturesunshine.com/challenge. Again, that's www.naturesunshine.com/challenge. Remember, there's 2 S's in Nature Sunshine. It's easy to miss it. I've done that in the past as well. With the Informed Challenge, there's all kinds of prizes, so it's not just about your health. We're also going to kind of bribe you here. A first place participant prize is $1,000 in cash plus a photo shoot, a makeover, convene for 2, and $300 in product credit. The coach, though, they went out too. They get a $500 cash prize, so you can get in on the winnings there. Second place, the participant receives $500 in cash, a photo shoot, and $200 in product credit. And as a coach, you still get $250 cash. And then third place, it's $250 cash. That's the participant, of course. A photo shoot, $100 in product credit. And as a coach, you get $125. So why not? Every participant who competes the challenge gets $25 in free products. So just for joining, going to that website again, naturesunshine.com/challenge, and getting started, you get yourself $25 in free product. So I don't see the downside there. And last but not least, we finally have online certification. Again, launching this Thursday. So stay tuned for that. Launching this Thursday, new online certification. If you haven't participated in the past, we've done broadcast certifications. And it's a great way for people who can't get to a local IN.FORM certification in Los Angeles or New York or Texas. This is a great way for them to get certified at the drop of a hat. And last but not least, new product webinars. We have Lawrence Smith speaking on Tuesday, September 6th, and Cindy Clement on Wednesday, September 7th. And those are 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 7:30 p.m. If you can't make one specific time, you have 3 options. So if you're enjoying our webinars as an IN.FORM coach, you're getting out there, getting excited, we hope you'll join us on Tuesday, September 13th. Again, that's Tuesday, September 13th for our 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time webinar. I'm not sure what it's going to be about, but it's going to be exciting, and you won't want to miss it. Thank you again for participating in the IN.FORM program. Thank you for believing in IN.FORM and Nature's Sunshine. And with that, I bid you adieu, and hopefully you've enjoyed your summer as we move closer to fall. Take care, everybody.